lambang kemegahan warga cemerlang. Minda sains, minda bestari, pemangkin generasi terbilang. UMT tonggak negara tercinta, membawa kita ke pesara dunia, teroka alam ciptaan Tuhan. UMT cipta warisan. Sancak negara lestari, lambang kemegahan warga cemerlang. Minda sains, minda bestari, pemangkin generasi terbilang. UMT tonggak negara tercinta, membawa kita ke pesara dunia, terungga alam ciptaan Tuhan. UMT cipta warisan, UMT cipta warisan.
Please be seated. Thank you. Professor Dr. Mazlan Abdul Ghaffar, Vice Chancellor of Universiti Malaysia Terengganu. Professor T.S. Dr. Muhammad Zamri Ibrahim, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and International of UMT. Associate Professor Dr. Hafiz Zakaria, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Student Affairs and Alumni of UMT. Professor Dr. Fauzia Haji Abu Hassan, Pro Vice Chancellor, Corporate Affairs and Industry Linkage of UMT. Professor T.S. Dr. Cik Muhammad Ruzaidi Ghazali, Dean, Faculty of Ocean Engineering Technology and Informatics UMT and Advisor for Umtas 2021. Professor Dr. Abdul Fattah Wahab, Deputy Dean, Talent Development of FTKKI UMT and the Chairman for Umtas 2021. UMT Senior Officers, distinguished guests, keynotes and invited speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Our most gratitude to Allah the Almighty for His grace and permission we are able to gather in this ceremony. I'm Dr. Nazaitu Sheila binti Rasid. On behalf of the organizer, we would like to extend to each one of you a very warm welcome to the opening ceremony of the 15th UMT International Annual Symposium, Umtas 2021. To bless our event today, I would like to invite Ustaz Muhammad Zakaria bin Muhammad from Sultan Mahmud Islamic Center, UMT, to recite the doa.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa 'azimi sultanik. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. اللهم إنا نسألك من فضلك العظيم وخيرك العميم يا جواد يا كريم. اللهم افتح لنا أبواب الخير والتيسير وسد عنا باب الشر والتعسير. اللهم اجعل لنا من كل هم وغم فرجا ومن كل ضيق مخرجا ومن كل فاحشة سترا وإلى كل خير سبيلا. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the world. Let your blessing and your peace be on your servant and your messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and on his family and his companions. Allahumma ya Allah. On this glorious morning, in conjunction with the opening ceremony of Virtual International UMT Annual Symposium Umtas 2021, which will be officiated by Professor Dr. Mazlan Abdul Ghaffar, Vice Chancellor of UMT. With your praise and blessings, we are able to proceed with the program as planned. As your humble servants, we express our gratitude for the opportunity, and we seek you, Ya Allah, with endless guidance and blessing in each and every presentation. Allahumma ya Fattahu ya Alim. We gather here to facilitate the exchange of knowledge, ideas, and good practices among educators and researchers. Throughout this symposium, we are asked that our heart and mind be opened, given inspiration and thoughtful opinions. Do not let us handle our affairs alone unless we get guidance. Allahumma ya Allah, open our hearts, make our task easy, and remove any no from our tongue, so everyone may understand our speech. May all participants benefit from this event and bring betterment to the Ummah. Bismillahilladzi la yadurru ma'asmihi shay'un fil ardi wala fis sama'i wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. Allahumma ya Hafizu ya Alim, Ya Allah, help us to remember you, to thank you, and to worship you in the best of manners. Forgive us, have mercy upon us, guide us, give us health, and grant us sustenance. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the universe, O Allah. We seek of you the means of your mercy, the means of your forgiveness, the protection from all mistakes, the benefits from all virtue, and the freedom from all sins. Allahumma ja'al jama'ana hadha jam'an marhuma, وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Amin, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Ustaz Zakaria, for doa recital. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to begin this occasion with the traditional Malay pantun. Hilang intan, berganti intan. Intan bernama Payung Negeri. Selamat datang kami ucapkan Umtas 2021 pembuka seri. It is a great honor for the Faculty of Ocean Engineering Technology and Informatics to host this UMT Prestige Biennial event, the 15th UMT International Annual Symposium, Umtas 2021. Kindly be informed, this opening ceremony is specially conducted in hybrid mode. I am with the distinguished guests, organizing committee, and some of the participants are physically present in Dewan Sultan Mizan, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu, while the rest of the participants are virtually present in our WebEx room. However, the rest of the conference will be conducted in fully online in light of social distancing recommendations and global restrictions on travel due to COVID-19 pandemic. Nevertheless, we optimists Umtas 2021 will still serve its aims to virtually bring together scholars, professionals, and postgraduate students to exchange and share their experiences and research results, encompassing every facet of science and technology. In line with its themes, Acculturating Sustainable Research in Pandemic Paradigms, inshallah. Now, let us glue our eyes to the screen for UMT corporate video. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to have the Honorable Professor T.S. Dr. Sheikh Muhammad Ruzaidi bin Ghazali, Dean of Faculty of Ocean Engineering, Technology and Informatics, come the advisor for Umtas 2021 to say a few words of welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Astaghfirullahalazim, astaghfirullahalazim, astaghfirullahalazim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyil azim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Blessing and peace upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Professor Dr. Mazlan Abdul Ghaffar, Vice Chancellor of UMT, Professor T.S. Dr. Muhammad Zamri Ibrahim, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and International of UMT, Associate Professor Dr. Hafiz Zakaria, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Student Affairs and Alumni of UMT, Professor Dr. Fauziah Haji Abu Hassan, Professor Pro Vice Chancellor, Corporate Affairs and Industry Linkage of UMT, Professor Dr. Abdul Fattah Wahab, Deputy Dean, Talent and Development of FTKKI, as the Chairman of Umtas 2021, UMT Senior Officers, distinguished guests, keynote and invited speakers, all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty. We are deeply honored to have the Honorable Professor Dr. Mazlan bin Abdul Ghaffar, Vice Chancellor of UMT, with us this morning for the launching ceremony of this symposium. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I would like to extend my warmest welcome to all the keynote speakers, invited speakers, paper presenters, and academicians to this virtual International UMT Annual Symposium 2021, also known as Umtas 2021. I am proud this morning to know that this conference has succeeded in attracting international participants across the globe, including from Uzbekistan, Indonesia, Iraq, Bangladesh, China, Belgium, Japan, Taiwan, United Kingdom, and our local participants as well. Overall, this year, there are 245 abstracts submitted to Umtas 2021. I also would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the committee members for making this event a reality. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to be welcoming all participants in this virtual conference today. It is most heartening that despite the varying time zone that we are in, all of us have made it a priority to be here at this conference today. It is true, Umtas 2021 is quite different this time and not as usual as before. This different we must go through because we are still facing the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic. The crisis has tested us to the limit and has forced us to make hard choice. But it has also enabled us to adapt to new norms and perhaps even embrace accelerated adoption of new technologies that have become very important in our path towards recovery. Even this symposium, as fully virtual, is a testament to our inventiveness of turning crisis into opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, In the spirit of embracing changes and assimilating new ideas during this pandemic era, the Faculty of Ocean Engineering Technology and Informatics, FTKKI, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu, is organizing a proactive learning experience through virtual international UMT Annual Symposium 2021, Umtas 2021. This symposium will enable scholars, professionals, and postgraduate students from various fields to have the opportunity to present, share, and discuss their discoveries from various perspectives. We hope that this conference will achieve objectives below. First, virtually brings together scholars, professionals, and postgraduate students to exchange and share their experience and research results with others. Engage in thought-provoking discussion on their research among fellow students, speakers, and renowned academic experts. Expose the participants to the current ideas, theories, and methodologies in their research areas, as well as identify new knowledge that can be explored. And last but not least, to carve an opportunity for researchers, academic experts, and students to foster close relationship and strong collaboration, research collaboration, and research partnership ahead. In line with FTKKI's effort to promote the sharing of the latest research results with the larger and global research community, this symposium is open to all local and international academicians, researchers, and graduates. So this year, we introduced a theme, Acculturating Sustainable Research in Pandemic Paradigms, in this symposium. The symposium has managed to invite keynote speakers and also invited speakers from several universities, locals and international, such as Professor Dr. Hironori Yasukawa from Hiroshima University, Professor IR Dr. Muhammad Rizal Arshad from USM, formerly as a Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academics for UNIMAX, Professor Dr. Abdullah Salhi, University of Essex, Datuk Rosano Saad from Venator Asia Sdn Bhd, and few other invited speakers from National University of Uzbekistan, College University Islam Selangor, University Technology Malaysia, University Islam Science Malaysia, Prince of Songkla University, University Malaysia Sabah, Monash University, and Chris, Bangalore. The theme is further divided into 10 sub-themes, namely energy, environment and sustainability, coastal and offshore engineering, computer science, electronics and instrumentation, mathematics and statistics, marine and freshwater science, food and agriculture science, fundamental and applied science, management science, and policy and education. As the first marine-focused university in Malaysia with a strong niche on marine science and aquatic resources, UMT is always dedicated to exploring all areas related to science, technology, and informatics through teaching, research, and networking. I believe UMT 2021 allow us to expand our horizon in the fields of engineering, technology, informatics, as well as marine research, and allow us to create stronger networks to future research collaboration. It is a hope that UMT 2021 would introduce UMT and Malaysia internationally as a regional learning hubs related to university areas and teams. In closing, I would like to thank all persons who have contributed in making this Umtas 2021 Symposium an excellent and fruitful endeavor. Not to forget, thanks to all sponsors for Umtas 2021 for supporting our event financially. All the best, and may Allah bless, be with all of us. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the wonderful remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now with a great pleasure, the ceremony wishes to invite our guest of honor, the Honorable Professor Dr. Mazlan bin Abdul Ghaffar, Vice Chancellor, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu, to deliver his opening speech and officiate the conference. Let's put our hands together for Prof. Mazlan.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila, our MC today. May I take out my mask? My colleague, Professor TS Dr. Zamri Ibrahim, is today. Associate Professor Dr. Hafiz Zakaria. Professor Dr. Fauziah Haji Abu Hassan, Professor TS Dr. Cik Muhammad Rozaidi Razali, Dean Faculty of Ocean Engineering, Technology and Informatics, as a host for Umtas today. Professor Dr. Abdul Fattah Wahab, Deputy Dean of FTKKI and the Chairman of this event, Umtas 2021. All my colleague UMT senior officers, distinguished guests, keynotes, and invited speakers, all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored to have this opportunity to welcome the keynote speakers, paper presenters, participants and honored guests to the Universiti Malaysia Terengganu Annual Symposium 2021, Umtas 2021. Umtas 2021 is the 15th International Annual Symposium that organized by Faculty of Ocean Engineering, Technology and Informatics, also known as FTKKI of UMT. First and foremost, I would like to thank Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for granting us the permission and blessing to implement such a meaningful symposium which will hopefully benefit the scientific community worldwide. I would like to greet all of you with a short Malay words of pantun. Anak kecil mencari timba di bawah sarang burung tempur. Salam sembah pembuka bicara, selamat datang untuk semua. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, Umtas 2021 is the 15th UMT Annual Symposium organized by FTKKI, which will involve all phases of science and technology fields. The aim are to promote research in these fields and facilitate the exchange of new ideas in this field among academicians, postgraduate students, engineers, scientists, and practitioners. It includes keynote speeches and oral presentation on different topics. In view of that, I would like to congratulate the organizer in making this conference a success, and let us give usual applause to them. The theme of the symposium is Acculturating Sustainable Research Pandemic Paradigm, encompasses 10 designated scopes which successfully brought together under the main theme in the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic. Through this symposium, participants had the opportunity to share and exchange knowledge, achievement, and experiences in related disciplines and at the same time simulate future collaborations. Congratulations to all participants, which I believe had overcome all the obstacles and challenges during this pandemic COVID-19 era that is so debilitating and might hamper the progress of research work, especially if it involves lab work. A generous pat on your back for the resilient and independent spirit that enable you to present your research findings in this symposium today. Congratulations again to all the participants. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, considering that we have a diversity of participants from multiple nationalities, I would like to grab this opportunity to introduce UMT. UMT is the first marine-focused university in Malaysia, and we are also always dedicated to explore all areas related to science, technology, natural resources management through teaching, research, and networking. This commitment is reflected last year, where UMT was awarded a 5-star rating for its MIRA Malaysia Research Assessment during the MIRA Star Rating Award Ceremony 2020. For those who are not familiar with the term MIRA, especially our esteemed international participant, MIRA is an analytical instrument introduced by Ministry of Higher Education of Malaysia to measure achievement of all Malaysian universities. 5-star rating signifies the capabilities of UMT at par with other more established higher institutions, since UMT was only officially chartered as a fully fledged university on 1st February 2007. This recognition by the Ministry of Higher Education of Malaysia will hopefully propel our researchers to strive for better goals in coming years. Hopefully, the sharing session during this symposium will warrant several more networking collaborations. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, once again, I would like to congratulate the committee for organizing this symposium. This effort, I must say, is very commendable and should be continued in the future. Shabash to all participants. Thank you for committing your time, energy towards this conference. I wish all of you the best and a fruitful discussion. I am looking forward to hearing the results and resolution of this symposium. With Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I hereby declare the Universiti Malaysia Terengganu Annual Symposium 2021, or we call it Umtas 2021, officially open. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mazlan, from the enlightening speech. We request you to remain on the stage for the opening ceremony gimmick. To enliven the ceremony, we invite all VIPs to join Professor Dr. Mazlan at the stage for the opening ceremony gimmick. Ladies and gentlemen, as a symbolic to the official opening of Umtas 2021, we invited Professor Dr. Mazlan to touch the screen. We request all the VIPs to remain at the stage. As a memento of appreciation, I would like to invite Professor T.S. Dr. Cik Ruzaidi to give away the token of gratitude to Professor Dr. Mazlan Abdul Ghaffar. Thank you, Prof. And again, we request all the VIPs to please remain on the stage. We have come towards the end of the opening ceremony event. To make this conference as an eventful moment to all of us, we are going to have a group photo session. Since this event is a hybrid event, we are going to have 2 sessions of group photo. We begin with the virtual group photo session with our distinguished guests on the stage. Therefore, I welcome everybody in the WebEx room for a group photo session. I am seeking everyone's cooperation to open your camera and give us the sweetest smile ever for this photo session. I will count 1 to 20 for each slide of photo gallery in WebEx. Ready, everyone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, thank you everyone in WebEx. Next, we are going to have a physical photo session. I invite the distinguished guests on the stage to come down and joining the physical attendees for the photo session. Everyone, please rise for the photo session and kindly squeeze to the center with social distancing for the photo session. Okay, I invite all guests to come forward to the front with a social distancing. Okay, come forward to the front. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we have come to the end of our opening session. We have been honored to be graced with your company this morning.
30 selesai. Sudah 30 mana ya? Saya itu bagi agak tangan lagi. Ya, ini ikut baca. Tanya lagi boleh tak? Langsung direct ke apa? Boleh. Betul. Tapi mana by chat boleh, by bacakan. Kalau yang lain
Above sea level and below is a world we need to care for. And being a marine professional, you play an important role in helping to protect this vital natural resource. We're facing major challenges, from climate change to the breakdown of our marine ecosystems. The Institute of Marine Engineering, Science and Technology, the IMRS, is the global home for marine professionals. We're the first institute to bring together marine engineers, scientists and technologists, creating an international family. Worldwide, we have 22,000 members in over 120 countries with over 50 branches. We offer a level of membership to support you at every stage of your career, from students and graduates through to members and fellows. We set global standards by offering professional qualifications.
boleh. Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Umtas 2021. I am Ahmad Fitriyadi. It is my pleasure and honor to be a moderator today. This morning, we are delighted to have a very important person in the field of naval architecture. He is Professor Dr. Hironori Yasukawa as our first keynote speaker today. He is from Graduated School of Advanced Science and Engineering, Transportation and Environmental System Program, Hiroshima University, Japan. Professor Dr. Hironori Yasukawa from Hiroshima University will deliver the presentation about a two-time skill method for ship maneuvering in web and its application. First of all, may I briefly introduce to you our respected keynote speaker from Professor Dr. Hironori Yasukawa. He is born February 11, 1959 in Fukuoka, Japan. He graduated with first degree, master and doctoral degrees in program of naval architecture from Kyushu University, Japan in 1982. He joined Nagasaki Research and Development Center, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries in 1984, and he then became a professor at Hiroshima University in 2002. Some of his significant positions in the International Organization of Naval Architecture Societies, he was maneuvering committee member from 2005 until 2011, and also he was the specialist committee member of performance of ship in service from 2014 until 2017, and also he was the maneuvering in web committee chairman since 2017 until now. In addition, he was become a primary contact person for the International Towing Tank Conference ITT organization. Furthermore,
the scientific contribution in the field of naval architecture, he has published hundreds of publications with high impact factor. He also actively become reviewer, associate editor, even chief editor in several international journal platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, before the presentation begins, let's know the regulation how the presentation will be going on. Firstly, I would like to give the time to the Professor Dr. Hironori Yasukawa to present the material for about 45 minutes and Q&A about 15 minutes, then in total will be 1 hour. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Honorable Professor Hironori Yasukawa to deliver the speech. Prof. Yasukawa, the stage now is yours. Professor Hironori Yasukawa to deliver the speech. Prof. Yasukawa, the stage now is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmad-san. It's quite happy for inviting me as a keynote speaker. So then I'd like to start my presentation. So then I'd like to share my PowerPoint slide. So then it's controlled by myself. It's okay?
Yeah, mostly welcome, Sensei. Please, maybe it will be better if you can control by yourself.
Okay, thank you. Can you see?
Yes, Sensei.
It's okay?
You can see clearly.
Oh, okay. So title of my presentation, a two-time scale method for maneuvering in the weights. So then there's okay, I'd like to start my presentation. So then there's seakeeping and maneuvering. As you know, these are very important performances for ships in view of the navigation safety. Seakeeping that normally include the problem of wave-induced motion. Not only the wave-induced motion, but also ship structure in waves, capsizing waves. In that sense, the seakeeping area is quite big. But there is a big assumption. Normally, when discussing the seakeeping, we assume the straight moving with constant speed in the waves. Normally, no steering. On the contrary, maneuvering. Usually, maneuvering means some response to the steering. So then is normally we treat the only horizontal motion such as surge, sway, and yaw. So there is normally no waves. So, but actual situation is quite complicated. For example, maneuvering waves. There exist the waves always at the sea. So then the maneuvering in the calm water is not realistic. So then we should discuss more about maneuvering waves or wave-induced motion of the maneuvering ships. For example, turning the waves, that really not special performance, or course changing the waves, that is normal way for the actual navigation. But traditionally, seakeeping and maneuvering have been treated separately. Why? That is because there was no theoretical framework that could handle both. So this time, in my presentation, I would introduce a two-time scale method for predicting ship maneuvering waves. So in the framework of the two-time scale method, we can handle and discuss about maneuvering waves or wave-induced motion of the maneuvering ships. So here, I'd like to present the outline of the method first. So next, I will introduce the experiment for the validation of the method. Especially, we'd like to introduce a free-running test about maneuvering the waves. The last, I'd like to introduce some application example of the two-time scale method to minimum power requirement problem. Okay, this is the contents of my presentation. First, I will describe the basic theory. Okay, two-time scale method. This is, of course, the name, but named by Skedic and Farutinsen in 2008. But the idea is completely same as my idea. But this paper was published in 2006, but written by Japanese. First, I would like assume. First, we need some assumption. First one is a total ship motion, namely maneuvering waves, wave-induced motion, maneuvering motion, is expressed as some maneuvering and wave-induced motion. And the maneuvering motion is a low frequency motion, then we can regard this motion as base motion. Wave-induced motion is a high frequency motion, and so the linear problem based on the low frequency motion, we can treat a linear problem. So then this idea, this assumption is not so special because maneuvering motion, steering speed is not so high. So then the response also not so high. So then the maneuvering motion is moving like here. Of course, that depends on the steering motion. But basically, this motion is a low frequency. On the other hand, about wave-induced motion, this is basically really high frequency. Of course, that depends on the wavelength. But compared to the maneuvering motion, the wave-induced motion is basically is a high frequency like that. So then there's when discussing the maneuvering the waves, so then there's we can treat as the sum of the maneuvering low frequency motion and high frequency wave-induced motion. So then under this assumption, we can treat the maneuvering motion as two separate problems. First one is the maneuvering, the other one is the wave-induced motion. This idea is, exactly speaking, not new, because this idea comes from the motion theory for an offshore structure with a DPS or mooring lines and waves. Okay, so then there's a next, I'd like to introduce a calculation flow in time scale method. This time, unfortunately, we skip some in the details, but I introduce some outline. For calculation of the maneuvering waves based on two time scale method, we have to provide the two models. First one is I call the maneuvering model. The other one is the sea-keeping model. As you know, the maneuvering model is assumed as a low frequency motion. Sea-keeping model is assumed as the high frequency motion. Maneuvering model. So then there's of course, in the maneuvering model, we have to consider the wave effect. So then we have to consider the wave-induced steady forces. This one is, in other words, sometimes we call wave drift forces or second order steady forces, something like. This steady forces frequency is quite long. So then, of course, in the maneuvering model, we need some engine model. Sometimes the torque rate is really important in waves. So propeller revolution control is really and also needed. So then the steering model is also needed. So then first we can solve the problem with the maneuvering with wave-induced steady forces. So then as the result, we can get the ship motion, ship position, heading angle, and the ship speed in the waves. So based on such information, we can calculate the changes of encounter frequency, wave direction, and the ship speed. Based on such information, we can calculate the sea-keeping, wave-induced motion. So as a sea-keeping model, now that we employ the strip method. So then is a one-way, interaction. But if you need, of course, the feedback is possible. For example, we want to calculate some, fluctuation, propeller thrust and torque. So then this,
includes that are
uh,
made from sources.
sorry. So then this, okay, thank you. Okay, so then the feedback is possible for calculating the thrust and torque fluctuation in waves. And also is a more sophisticated radar control is also possible. So this is a rough calculation flow in time scale method. So then this is the framework. Then there's a problem. I guess you have some basic question. Is the model for ship maneuvering waves too simple? Because in the maneuvering the model is expressed as sum of commutator model and wave-induced steady forces. I think that all you know, the maneuvering the wave is really looks really complicated. But basic flow is expressed as a commutator and wave-induced steady forces. That's too simple. Yeah, that is a really important question. But this is theoretically proven by Nonaka in 1990 and Merhoff and Skarabras in 1992. But there is assumption on the slender body assumption and or slow speed assumption. So then this two-time scale method is valid on the assumption of slender ship and slow speed. So in the high speed, the cases, I think the out of the range of the assumption. The second question is this applicable for low frequency wave induced motion? Yeah, wave induced motion frequency range is quite wide, from high frequency to low frequency. In the low frequency cases, so then as you know, the broaching problem may be occur in the following way. In that case, the wave is quite low frequency. Okay, to tell the truth, in that cases, unfortunately, not applicable. This is out of the two-time scale method. There is such limitation, but this two-time scale methods are really useful. Okay, next I'd like describe detail more. Okay, about the maneuvering model. So then we use a MMG model. What is MMG? MMG is a maneuvering modeling group in Japan. So then this model was developed in Japan. So then this time and skip the detail. So then if we want to have interesting, so then please check this paper, Yasukawa and Yoshimura, 2015 at the JMST. So then this maneuvering model is validated only in the case of car mode. So then we have to add the wave-induced steady forces. So at the later, I'd like to show the validity of this assumption, this model. About the seeking model, the linear time domain based new strip method used on the assumption of the quasi state treatment. Exactly speaking, we have to consider the memory effect in the seeking model. But in view of the practical purpose, we neglected this memory effect. So then there is a number of the motion equations to be solved for the maneuvering motion, surge, sway, yaw, and roll, and high frequency sea keeping. This is a 6th degree of freedom. Then we have to solve the 10 motion equation in each time step. Then in the maneuvering model, we need hydrodynamic forces on the maneuvering acting on the hull, propeller, and rudder. So this expression is based on the MMG model. So this time I'd like to skip here, but we have to provide for the computation hull hydrodynamic derivatives on maneuvering, rudder force parameters, propeller thrust parameters, and their hydrodynamic interaction. Basically, to capture this such kind of hydrodynamic characteristics, we need some captive model test. About the wave-induced steady forces, sometimes called the wave drift forces. This is really important to capture the wave effect when the maneuvering motion. So then the wave-induced steady force is composed of added resistance in the waves, steady lateral force in the waves, and steady yaw moment in the waves. So then there's in my program, for the predicting the added resistance in the regular waves, we use some strip-based method, and for calculating the resistance, we use Professor Marwo's far field theory, and our program includes some empirical method for diffraction wave component correction. For the predicting the steady lateral force and yaw moment, we have two programs. One is a strip-based method using the Professor Kashiwagi's far field theory. The other one is a zero-speed 3D panel method. If we want to use a zero-speed 3D panel method, so forward speed of effect cannot be considered. But steady lateral force and yawing moment, speed of effect on this force and the moment is not so significant. So in the practical point of view, zero-speed 3D panel method is also useful. This added resistance and some steady force and moment are calculated only in regular wave. But actual C's are not regular. Actual C's are irregular. So then we have to capture the wave-induced steady forces in irregular wave. To capture the irregular waves, we calculate based on the results in the regular waves, the average, we got the average value of the short-term prediction technique. This time I will skip the detail of the short-term prediction. So then there's a prediction of the maneuvering the waves. So that the resistance and the steady lateral force yawing moment, that accuracy is really important. Okay, this one is added resistance waves for cable CC2. So then there's this graph is and also added resistance for KCS, container vessel, and then VLC tankers. So in the regular waves. So then there's a line means calculation, is a mark means experiment. Unfortunately, calculation is not perfect. But in view of the practical use, so I think it's not so bad. So especially for the KCS, this one is a ship speed is a 24 knot cases. This line calculation is a peak is slightly different, but in accuracy is I think enough. Speed is dropped here. This black circle is a black line in the case of 5 knot. So then the calculations slightly overestimated, but the calculation can capture the tendency. In the case of cable CC2, the peak value of the added resistance is underestimated in the calculation, but overall tendency is not so bad. This is a validation of the method about steady lateral force and yawing moment in beam waves. So then this one is a steady lateral force. This one is a steady yawing moment. Vertical axis is surrounded by L. wavelength to ship length ratio. So then these experiments is mark with in the short wave case it rapidly become large in the absolute values the lateral force. So then these in the calculation capture well. During the moment, unfortunately, our calculation cannot capture well the experiment to tell the truth. But unfortunately, the moment is not so big. So then there's a not so big influence on the calculation results on the maneuvering base. Then, of course, we have to improve the calculation accuracy with a steady going moment. So then this is a outline of the two-time scale method. So then the next would like to describe the experiments about the free running test. Free running model test. That the main purpose is obtain the validation data of the prediction method. So then the second one is also really important for capturing the actual phenomena of ship maneuvering waves. For better understanding of the maneuvering waves, so then the free running test is really useful. Measurement item is follow. To capture the maneuvering motion in the waves, we have to measure the 6 degrees of freedom motion. About the rotational angle, such as roll, pitch, and yaw. So then basically easily can capture this angle using the gyro. High performance gyros are a little bit expensive, but is it possible? But to capture the 3D position of the ship in a waves, surging, swaying, heaving in the waves. So then this is not so easy to capture the 3D position. So then this time we tried about two measuring system. First one is a carriage tracking system in model in tank. The other one is a total station system in the tank. To the right, I will describe more. So then is a to capture the maneuvering motion of waves. Of course, we have to capture the motion, rotational angle, and the 3D position. But I think not enough to know the more detail. So then in our lab, usually we measure the other this item, like rudder normal forces in maneuvering, propeller thrust and torque in the maneuvering. So then the wave height, that is of course really important. Vertical acceleration in the wave, and etc. Okay, this is an outlined figure of the carriage tracking system. This test was carried out in the seakeeping and the maneuvering basin, Nagasaki, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. So then the tank is like that. Quite big rectangular tank. The length of the tank is 160 meters and breadth is 30 meters. So then this wave maker is equipped to this side and this side. So using the this wave maker system, so then we can make similar kind of the waves with some similar wave direction. So then this is carriage. So then this carriage is movable to the this direction. So then this is the carriage, X carriage. So then is under this carriage, X carriage, and also Y carriage is installed. Y carriage is moving laterally. So X carriage moving the longitudinally. So then using such kind of the carriage, so we can measure the ship motion in the waves. So this is that rough outline of the measuring system, you can see that this is a model. So then in the model, you can see the some, gyro, directional gyro, and the gyro for the roll measurement of the roll and pitch. So then there's a motor for propeller rotation and the propeller dynamometer, the propeller model, the dynamometer, the steering. So then there's a putting some target. So then these models are basically freely moving on the tank surface. So then this carriage means, this one, Y carriage. Y carriage is automatically track just on the, on the, according to the moving of the ship motion. So this using this tracking system, we can measure the XY position. But using this an XY tracker system, not so easy to capture the heave motion, vertical motion. So then we put some additional equipment for measuring the heaving motion. So then this camera is always watching the target. So then using the optical technique, we can capture the vertical motion. So then motion of the maneuvering waves. So this is the result. Same motion during turning in the regular waves. So then there's a wave height divided by L equals 0.02, not so high. Lambda by L, wave length to ship length is 0.7. Wave direction is 9 degrees. The beam waves. So rudder angle is 35, turning in the regular way. Okay, this is a trajectory result. Ship moving from here to moving straight like that. So then the origin just in steering start. So then the ship start to turn like that, but the waves coming from here. So then some drift occur like that. But the drifting direction is not the same as the wave direction. In that figure, like moving up, upper direction. So then the solid line, colored solid line, the correction results, and blue dotted line, the experiments. At the beginning of the turning, so in agreement is good, but in that area is of course you can observe some difference. This one's in a time domain result, time history results about the yaw rate and drift angle. So then the calculations here, the experiments here. Okay, you can see really high frequency motion that comes from the wave induced motion. But like a really large change of the tendency, that comes from low frequency about maneuvering. So then the experiments is also experiment that has same tendency as the calculation. So then the high frequency and the large, low frequency motion like that. About the drift angle of the ship hull, so then there's a calculation to capture where the tendency of the experiment. This is the result that same condition, but we introduce heave motion during turning and pitching moment during turning. So then there's in the calculation, larger in the head wave, the heave, because in the large wave cases, heave large but pitching small. So then there's turning start like that. So then the heave the small like here, in the large and small. So repeated like that. So this calculation result almost the same of the experiment. Pitching is also, but the experiments include some calculations that really like a beautiful fluctuation. We can observe the fluctuation. But in the actual situation, the tank is there exists some tank wall. So then the wave is hitting and backing to the ship model. So then some include some such kind of noise. I think that the experiment is quite realistic. Calculation results, I think, too beautiful. Okay, next is introduce a total station system. Nowadays, we use this total station system to measure the ship position. Because quite cheap and quite easy for handling. Like a robot total with 3 legs system comes from sitting in one head. This is called the total you can see this one. So you can see that this one. A robot. This one is the total station. Total station has this is a part of the head. So then you can see that this one eye. This one the total station has only one eye, 3 legs. This is a part of the head. This part is the neck. So then there's always watching one eye, this has only one eye, 3 legs. So then in that sense is always, so then there's always watching is moving horizontally, some target vertically. So then in that sense is always the ship, some prism is equipped at the, this boat. So this is a position target. So then is a total station always watching the prism. At the same time, we can measure the position. Originally, this was used for a measurement of the some such kind of motion of the boat in the river. Okay, so then is a total station. If we want to use the total station, we can easily capture the ship position because the total station is automatically watching the ship model movement from the tank side. Okay, this is a inside of the model, ship model. In that case, is the ship length of the model is about 3 meters. So then you can see that the prism, that is a target for position measurement. This is a larger photograph. So then this was equipped here. So this one is this box is a gyro for measurement of the pitch, roll, and yaw. This is a battery, is a motor for propeller, and the propeller dynamometer for measuring the thrust and torque. Okay, so this is a video for the turning in irregular waves of the cable CC2. So then there's a significant wave height is a 4.5 meter in irregular waves. Short crested irregular waves. So then there's a rudder angle 35. So in the beam wave situation for that ship so low that becomes large. But it's possible to turn in the wave. Then is a total station is a set to the side of the tank. This total station always watching the movement, this model. Through such kind of action of the total station, so we can capture the position of the motion. So this one is the result. A very important point is that this time carried out the motion in irregular waves. So then there's irregular waves with a significant wave height of 4.5 meter. But irregular wave pattern, there is a lot. So then this time 5 times repeated with a different variation pattern. But wave height is the same. So then as a result, so wave pattern difference is not so significant in the waves. Okay, this one is a ship moving like here. This is the origin just started the steering. So then there's a turn start here, like moving like here, but the waves comes here. So some drift occurs. Port turning is also. Waves is just in a head wave in the straight moving in approaching area, but drifting direction is slightly different from the direction of the waves because the drifting direction is like here. This is a special feature of the turning in waves. So this is a advanced and tactical diameter to capture the effect wave variation pattern in irregular waves. So then we found the maximum variation of the 2% from 2% to 3%. Difference is not so big. So that is a comparison of the simulation between the simulation results and the free running test result. In a common cases, so then this turning circle become pure circle. So but in a wave cases, some drift occurs. That is the main difference. Uh, our calculation capture world experiment, but often not perfect. So you can find some difference between this part and this part in the common cases. And in irregular wave cases, this part is you can find some difference. But our method, based on the two-time scale method, captured well the experiment. Okay, next, I'd like to talk about application to minimum power requirement problem. What is a minimum power requirement problem? Nowadays, this one is a really important issue in the actual navigation, shipping and naval actual field. To reduce the CO2 from the ships, so it is useful to reduce the hull resistance or and develop a new propeller with higher efficiency. As a result, engine power is reduced. Of course, no need of a higher power engine. Engine should be small. Yeah, that's good to reduce the CO2. But the small power engine makes the ship dangerous situation. What? Because engine power reduced, so then the propeller load is also reduced. So then is a propeller load under the load propeller load, the rudder force is also reduced. Rudder force is reduced, so then is a lost of the safe margin in adverse weather condition. So then is a small engine power. It's good to reduce the CO2, but too much reduction of the engine power, so that makes the ship dangerous situation. That's true. So then is how to determine the minimum power, minimum engine power to ensure the navigation safety of the ships. So then no consistent method at present. So then is I think we applied the two-time scale method for support and settle the minimum power requirement problem. This minimum power requirement guidelines are now under development at the IMO, International Maritime Organization. For discussing the minimum power requirement, a prediction method maneuvering motion the ship in both weather condition is needed as an investigation tool. So then I have two-time scale method program. So then some indices representing the maneuvering characteristics, the weight and the waves are needed. So then those are steady condition of a ship, straight moving in wave, wind and wave, such as the check helm, or drift angle, heel and ship speed. This idea is not new. But this is basically this one traditional way, but really important. And that only discussion of the city condition, I think not enough. Because I know dynamic stability, your or acoustic stability also have to discuss. So then is we have to check the steady condition of the ship moving in the wind and the waves. So then is after finishing the checking the condition, have to check the yaw and the coast stability criteria. So then is I'd like to introduce a calculation procedure to obtain the steady solution. Consider the ship straight moving in the waves and the wind with constant revolution using the autopilot. The ship reaches to the steady state condition with certain check helm, hull drift angle, heel, and ship speed. So then that is a equivalent of surge sway, yaw, roll, and steering model. The motion equation is expressed like that. The based on the ship fixed coordinate system, as you know, we know the motion equation for the surge, sway, yaw, roll, and steering. Okay, M is a ship's mass, mx, and the y the added mass. U is a longitudinal velocity. V is a lateral velocity. R is a yaw rate. Okay, so then the delta is a right angle size heading angle. Okay, this is a basic motion equation at a low frequency motion. So in that cases, we consider the steady situation. So we can reduce this part. Okay, dot part is we can delete this one. So then is the remain the motion equation just express some balance between the inertial force and hydraulic and aerodynamic forces. So then this H means the hull forces, P is the propeller forces, R is rudder forces, A is air force, wind force, XW is wave induced steady forces. So then we can solve this reaction directly. We can get the steady solution. After finishing the checking the solution at the equilibrium condition, so then these they have to check the motion stability. So then these are generally locally linear stability analysis are really useful for checking the motion stability. By the calculating the eigenvalue of the Jacobian matrix. Here I'd like neglect the detail. So then if all real parts of the eigenvalues are negative, the equivalence is stable. Namely, motion is stable. Okay, so then is based on the certain theory, we calculated the calculation program. So then is we and also carried out the free learning test for checking the program in a way than the waves to know the maneuvering limit. This is a photograph of the square tank of National Research Institute of Fisheries Engineering. So then you can see the large, towing carriages. You can say, oh, what is that? This one is wind blowers. So then is okay, wind blowers is generates some wind. So then the inside of the blowers, 108 wind fan is attached right here. So then this one is a one unit. So then you can find this is suspended that this towing carriage. You can find the 3 unit is equipped here.
Sensei, sumimasen. So maybe we have remains for 10 minutes in total. So maybe
Okay.
can you speed up?
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
Just softly reminder.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Wavemaker is lucky. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so skip.
It's okay.
So then, okay, this is a situation of the wave. You can find the wind blower. The wind is coming and the wave is coming. This is long crested irregular waves. So then this is a ship model just keeping the heading. Of course, the propeller is rotating. Rudder action is it's also including. So then there's a checking. The wave height is a 4 meter in the full scale. So then this ship can move and it at rest or in adverse weather condition. So then is okay. Our program is quite good to capture the situation, the waves and wind. So you can see the line and the mark with the agreement is not so bad. So then this agreement is good. And your stability is all the negative. That means stability is no problem. Stable means. So the based on this the results, we can check the judgment of the this ship is safe or not. So this graph is here is a head wave cases, here is a beam wave cases. This direction is a foreign wave case. You can find the mark is here. This one is a dangerous situation. In the head wave cases, in the head quartering the cases, this ship becomes a dangerous situation because an engine torque over the here, that means in red color the mark, blue color the speeds drop down under than the 6 knot. The situation is dangerous. So this part is a dangerous situation. But except this area, other wave direction and the wave period look safe. On the contrary, in the case of 30% reducing the engine power, these dangerous zones are increasing. So in that cases, so that is a typical minimum power requirement problem. So then which one is a better in view of the safe navigation? That is a really difficult problem. Okay, unfortunately, no time for more discussion. So then I'd like to reach the concluding remarks. Two-time scale method for the maneuvering waves has been presented, including free running model stress, blah, blah, blah. Okay, future work is important. Understanding of the phenomena, especially the wave-induced steady forces with ships forward velocity. Nowadays, the shift is really useful and promising. So then we should consider more the application of the safety. Further validation is a need. Support to the minimum power requirement project. So then we should include the human factor, or we should include some more realistic situation, fluctuation component of the simulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sensei. I think it's very nice and interesting presentation today, Sensei. Maybe
Thank you.
1 hour is not enough for you. And hopefully, maybe in near future, we will invite you again for the next keynote speaker, inshallah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sensei. So now, we are going to have a Q&A. Maybe I just remind ourselves here that we have still maybe about 5 minutes in total for the Q&A. So if the participant would like to give the question, so you can chat in the, type in the chat room, or maybe you can ask directly to Professor Yasukawa. Maybe from Prof. Adi Maimun, I think you are here now.
Yes, hello, Prof.
Hi.
So, Prof, my question is, how about transient and non-linear coupling effect? Does it have a lot of effect when you compare between the experiment and your numerical method? That's my question. Can you?
I'm sorry, I cannot. You discuss about the nonlinear effect
Yes, effect of non-linear and transient effect. Does it affect because the ship is turning in a wave, right? So in some position it is yeah.
Okay, so you are correct.
Mhm.
In my program, just okay. There are two parts of the non-linearity. In the field of the maneuvering field, non-linear effects is really important. So large drift angle and the large angle. So then there's at a low frequency problem. Of course, we include such a non-linearity the program. But about the sea keeping problem. So then there's of course we should include the non-linearity, the wave effect. But that is not so easy. So then in our cases, the linear strip method used for predicting the sea keeping problem. So then there's as you pointed out, we should include the nonlinear effect about the waves. But that is a future work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Adi, for the question, and also, very clear answer from Professor Yasukawa. Maybe the next one, maybe Dr. Amirul, do you have any question to our sensei? Or maybe I have the question in the chat. Prof, as a sailing ship master, I have experience navigating new ship in heavy weather with reduced engine power. It is not easy and very difficult. What is the industry doing about this? This is the question, Prof. May I repeat again the question? Prof. Yasukawa, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have the question in the chat room and I would like to read for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the complete question like this, Prof. Prof, as a sailing ship master, I have experience navigating new
Yeah.
ship in heavy weather with reduced engine power. It
Mm.
is not easy and very difficult. What is the industry doing about this? This is coming from the captain, such hindrance.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for very difficult question for me. So then there's okay. There are the two way to design the new ship. One is reducing the CO2. That is a really important factor. So then is nowadays engine power is reduced with the reduced ship speed. So then, in my opinion, but the captain in the old world, the captains are really uh, can manage such a difficult problem. So then the situation is not so good, but the reducing the engine power, how should be included? What is the minimum power? That is now at the present the really difficult problem. Just in the continuing the discussion at the IMO. So in my opinion, so then is a 20% reducing, 30% reducing. That is I think the acceptable level. But the 15% reduction, I think that's no good. This is my opinion. Oh, that is a really difficult problem.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Prof. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end part of this session. And before I close this session, I would like to thank so much to our respected keynote speaker, Professor Hironori Yasukawa, for the very interesting presentation. Hopefully, the speech from Professor Yasukawa will be beneficial for us, actually, especially in the Naval Architect Societies. So please give applause to him. Ladies and gentlemen, may I thank you very much for your active participation in this session. I hope you enjoy the program. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and I return to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sensei. See you later. Assalamualaikum and a good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second keynote sessions. Welcome to the second keynote speech session. My name is Dr. Ahmad Faisal from Universiti Malaysia Terengganu UMT, and I am the chairperson for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are delighted to have Professor IRTS Dr. Muhammad Rizal Arshad as our speaker. He is a professor from University Science Malaysia USM. Prof. IRTS Dr. Muhammad Rizal Arshad from USM will be talking about the challenges and obstacles in developing new technologies for marine applications. Do you have Professor Rizal Arshad here?
Yes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Very happy to see you, Prof. Thank you so much for being with us today. All right. Before we invite Prof for his keynote session, let me briefly introduce our keynote speaker. Muhammad Rizal Arshad graduated from the University of Liverpool in 1994 with a Bachelor of Engineering in the field of Medical Electronics and Instrumentation. He then pursued his MSc in Electronic Control Engineering at the University of Salford, graduating in December 1995. Following from this, in the early 1996, he continued his study in a PhD degree in electronic engineering with specialization in robotic vision system. After completing his PhD training, he started working at the Universiti Science Malaysia, USM, as a full-time academic in 1999. He has supervised many postgraduate students at the master's and also PhD levels. He has also published actively in local and international publications. He is currently a full professor at the School of Professor at the School of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, USM. Prof. Rizal is a professional engineer and technologist and is recognized as the pioneer of underwater system technology and robotics research efforts in Malaysia. He is a fellow of IMARES, senior member of IEEE, and a chartered engineer with Engineering Council, United Kingdom. Prof. Rizal is very interested in developing new systems and technologies for especially marine applications and the general applications in society and industry. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor IR TS Dr. Muhammad Rizal Arshad to deliver his talk. Prof. Rizal, the stage is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Faisal for the kind introduction. So I hope you can see my slides. Okay.
Yes, Prof.
So
Can
this
see your
morning
slides.
I'll be sharing, and my voice is clear. So, okay. This morning I'll be sharing my take on the challenges and obstacles in developing new technologies for marine application, for ocean applications. As you all have heard, that my background is actually in electronics. In fact, in medical electronics and instrumentation. But along the way, I've focused on my research on developing robotic system, especially autonomous robotic system for ocean application, not just for ocean, for any column application. So as mentioned, I'm currently based in University of Science Malaysia in Liverpool. So this morning, this morning I'll be talking about four things. Of course, I will start off with some background on SDG, on Sustainable Development Goals, future of marine technologies, issues and challenges, and a bit of conclusions from my take on the matter. I think most of us, or if not more, all of us are very well aware about the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which have developed since early 2000, and we currently have 17 SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. If you look on the goal number 14, which is life below water, I think this is where the marine community or marine scientists or marine technologies, researchers, technology developers are very interested in, to see how we can contribute to the SDG number 14. But then again, SDG 14 targets covered whole array of things, of goals, sub-goals. And you can see, I think there's a number of goals which I think they have passed the deadline, which is last year, 2020. But I think obviously because of the pandemic, all these goals most likely now have to be reviewed in terms of the deadlines. And we can see, among others, all the goals, all the SDG 14 are linked to a number of other SDG goals. So you can see in these slides, SDG 14s are linked to at least 9 other sub-goals in terms of the no poverty SDG, in terms of helping communities who are exposed to climate-related extreme events, in terms of lowering costs for fishery communities, in terms of giving benefits to those using marine resources, support small-scale fishermen, fishing communities to boost their income. Of course, it is linked to good health and well-being, marine pollution, in terms of increasing the conservation of marine and coastal areas, etc., etc. There's so many goals related for the also that and a large vast amount or vast area of the oceans are yet to be properly studied, yet to be properly mapped. There was I've attended the technical presentation once upon a time where the Navy, who was the presenter who are from the Navy, who's doing a lot of bathymetric activities, mapping activities. They were saying that only up to about 2% of the world ocean are really mapped, and the rest are not unmapped. So there are many things we are unknown in terms of the deep water subsea areas of the oceans. So you can see from this, it's very pertinent, it's very clear to us as researchers, as scientists, as technologists, that there are so many rooms that for research, for development efforts from the technology point of view, in order to support this agenda, this SDG. And I can wonder for the amount of establishing for new sources of energy from the oceans. And then we talk about, in terms of SDG number 12, for example, responsible consumption and production, where it talks about reducing pollution to the marine environment, to the ocean. And so these are if you look at the SDGs, the details of the SDGs goals and sub-goals, sub-objective, you will see there's a lot of area or place where we need to put a lot more efforts. And in terms of the future of marine technology, okay, can you see the slides? Okay. So you're talking about the future, and that is when you talk about the future of marine technologies, it is as fast as the land or terrestrial kind of technology adoption, development and adoption. There's a lot more challenges, there's a lot more issues regarding developing new technologies for the marine application. And of course, in terms of the environment are different, The ocean are very corrosive, example. The ocean are a high pressure environment, for example. So there are a lot of issues regarding technologies, especially subsea technologies, where the technology need to operate in a high pressure environment, corrosive high pressure environment. So these are, but there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of openings for us to look into in order to improve the livelihood of the communities, especially those living by the coast. And more than 50% of the world population, they live near the coast. They do not live in the inlands. The cities are near the coast. So that's why marine technologies are critical to the sustainability of the communities and those especially on the coastal areas. So when we talk about marine technology, if you look into Global Marine Technology Forecast 2030, they're talking about three big areas of research technology development. First, on commercial shipping, in terms of the areas where there's a lot of areas where it can be improved. There are also in terms of the naval application, defense, military applications. Of course, for us working in academia, R&D setup is very difficult, a bit challenging to work on naval projects because normally defense projects are very secretive, very sensitive. So normally we work on commercial, very related projects and also scientific projects. And the third items on the ocean space, or projects or activities related to ocean space in terms of developing or utilizing, exploring, optimizing the resources available in the oceans. And when we talk about technology in maritime, obviously there is a shift, the rising types of technology. The trends are emerging out of necessity. There are advances in shipbuilding, propulsion, smart shipping, advanced materials, big data analytics, robotics, autonomous systems, sensors, advanced communication, etc. And with this, there is a need for increasingly skilled workforce in order to manage, to handle all these new technologies. And the drivers for these technologies are balance between environmental and commercial necessities. And as a catalyst, nowadays we see environmental policies are fast-tracking some of the developments to drive sustainability. And as a result, have pushed for greater R&D and adoption of tech to reduce greenhouse gases emissions, and the benefits are very clear for us to opt for new technologies adoption for the marine application, for the marine sectors. So what are the future technologies of maritime? I think all of us, maybe some of us have access, have read the Global Marine Technology Report 2030. It's a very comprehensive report. It talks about what the future holds, what kind of potential future scenario projection for marine technology down 9-10 years down the road in 2030. So it talks about 8 to 10 new technologies that are up and coming, which we need to give our attention and focus on. So among others, it talks about shipbuilding. It talks about new design freedom, efficient maximization, waste reduction, managing virtual invention, drive to the development of future shipbuilding technologies. You can see shipbuilding. In fact, when we talk about SBSR, shipbuilding and ship repair industry, it also up and coming, and many countries are looking into SBSR, for example. So this is on the shipbuilding and ship repairs, and in the shipbuilding component, where the new technologies are up and coming, where we can see new technologies are being start to be utilized. And then we talk about propulsion and powering. For propulsion and powering, I think this is interesting because we talk about propulsion, we talk about efficiency in terms of to propel the vessels, to propel. In our experience, in my experience, we are experienced in developing ROVs and AUVs. Propulsion is interesting because the efficiency of the propulsion will affect in terms of the control of the vessel, in terms of how we manage energy utilization, etc. So we talk about propulsion and powering. And in terms of autonomous robotic for ocean application, there are a number of research group companies offering solution for bio-inspired. That means the propulsions are no longer rotary, but the propulsion are undulatory. That means wing or flexible wing, for example, flexible fins, for example. So those are new propulsion methods that people are using in order to increase the efficiency of the movement of the craft, be it a ship, be it underwater robots, be it AUV, etc., etc. So that means propulsion is an interesting research problem for researchers, technology developers, but also how to power it in terms of the energy saving usage, in terms of new battery, material for batteries, etc. So those are up and coming areas of research that will be very interesting. And we talk about smart shipping. This is where, in terms of shipping, move from digitization of the system in the ship to intelligent ship, where we exploit big data manipulation, combination design, operations of ships. And then for the medium to long term, now people are talking about autonomous ships, autonomous tanker, for example, flying the high seas rather than manned tanker. We're talking about autonomous tanker. So this is very interesting because if you want to ensure a sustainable or a workable, a reliable autonomous ship, you talk about reliable communication, reliable control, localization, navigation, etc., etc. There's so many elements into it to develop a real working, reliable autonomous ship, for example. So these are smart shipping is another area that the marine industries are looking into. Of course, in the smart shipping, they are also talking about advanced materials. So you can see right from the propellers and the rudders, the engine, machinery, the hull, the superstructure, the hatch cover, the cargo hold, everything are now being explored in terms of using new materials, which is more sustainable, more durable, more can withstand, for example, antibody fouling, for example, less in terms of can withstand the corrosive effect of the ocean, etc. So these are some of the new way forward being openings in terms of research and technology development. Then we talk about big data analytics. I think it's a big cliche now. Everybody's talking about big data analytics, but in terms of the real application, it is true that data now, in terms of decision making, we are going into data informed, not so much of data driven, but data informed decision making. For example, in navigation for autonomous ship, you need a very good decision making process in terms of which direction to take. For example, what's the next maneuver that the ship needs to take for an autonomous ship. So this needs a reliable data storage and analysis in order to drive and to enable us making an informed decision. So you talk about big data analytics. You talk about even from the design of the ship, the material performance inventory, condition monitoring, meteorological and oceanographic data, accident or incident during the ship flying the route, cargo, communication, navigation, inspection, etc. So there are so many data that needs to be gathered and analyzed in order to us to make a decision, critical decision during. So these are interesting because, and not just for the marine sectors, I think throughout the other sectors in countries like even the financial sectors, they are using a lot of big data analytics now. Data analytics, big data, and data analytics. So, and we know that when we talk about big data, there are the three V's or the four V's. When we talk big data, we talk about the volume, the velocity, the variety, and the veracity, or the accuracy and reliability of data. So these are important. And as yet, I'm coming from the control researcher community. Data are very critical because from data we make a lot of decisions. From data, you make decisions in terms of ensuring stability of the vessel, etc. From data, we try to optimize our navigation path, for example. So this needs the right tools, the best tools. Okay, so in the future, we expect new technologies to emerge that will improve big data analytics. So big data analytics is not just the software, the infrastructure, but the infrastructure, the hardware also will be critical in terms of hardware to process the data. So the hardware software co-design in order to produce a robust big data analytic infrastructure or modules will be critical and will be interesting for many applications in the marine sectors. And then we talk again about advanced materials and manufacturing. Okay, the reason that I go through all this because this will be these areas will introduce a number of issues in order for us to do it. So that's why I think it's interesting for us to know what kind of upcoming areas will be critical for the marine sector, for the marine environment. So we talk about advanced materials manufacturing, developing advanced material for ship application, for ocean environment, for example, parameter detection application, for sustainable in terms of infrastructure, in terms of by the coast, for example, in the deep ocean, for example. So this is where advanced materials and manufacturing will be interesting. Because, for example, if you have advanced manufacturing setup, this will expedite the process in terms of producing new parts, for example, for when we are working remotely, far from land, for example. So there are a number of advantages and interesting areas of that we can look out for when we talk about advanced material and manufacturing. And this is where our group interest in robotics and autonomous system. We believe that we strongly believe that robotics, with autonomous robotics, be it floating vessels, be it swimming, or be it crawling or flying. So you have this 4 domain of application: flying, which is autonomous airborne or unmanned aerial vehicle; floating, where it can be buoy, it can be an autonomous surface vessel, or it can be swimming, it can be an AUV, autonomous underwater vehicle, it can be a UUV, unmanned underwater vehicle, or it can be crawlers at the seabed. So these 4 robotic autonomous system can work hand in hand in order for us to get a more holistic picture of the application that we are dealing with. So as of now, admittedly in the industry, if you look into the oil and gas industry specifically, in terms of robotics, ROV, remotely operated vehicle, be it the observation class or the work class, are being used extensively. But the use of AUV are very limited, and the use of the combined use of AUV and ROV are very limited because of the technical difficulties, limitations in terms of localization, in terms of cooperative or deployment of multiple type of ocean going. So these are the way forward because
Prof. Rizal, we are losing you. We cannot hear your voice.
I think this is, we don't have any other option but have to go for this line development. Yeah. Can I just?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you can hear me, huh? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is it clear? Okay.
It's clear. Yeah.
So, okay, sorry about it. So now, robotic and autonomous system is interesting. Is a way forward for us to ensure it is feasible. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can see. I can hear your voice. It's a bit sketchy. Probably if you can turn off your video, just in case we can try, just to make your voice a little bit smoother.
I think it's going to be risky. I thought I think it will disrupt everything if I switch off. Let me just continue, Rizal.
Yeah, please.
Cuba,
Okay.
Okay. So, and the next one is on the sensors. I really want to go straight to the issues, but I want to finish off the number of the things that some of the areas of interest for the future. Developing different sensors, new sensors for the ocean. So in terms of for the ocean, it is always the issues of the best sensors that we can use to best detect, to best measure the parameters that we're interested in the ocean. But as I think most of us who are doing research for the ocean, deploying system into the ocean, the sensors are very expensive. I think just a simple temperature sensor to measure the temperature gradient for the water column are quite expensive, and we need to deploy them, many of them. So this is an area for us, from Malaysia, for example. It's going to be very costly for us to buy all these sensors in order to develop a very good, for example, robotic system for the ocean. So I think this is a challenge, and for us to come out with sensor modules which is more affordable. And then in terms of communication, we talk about the integration of 5G, Wi-Fi, and new generation satellites. I think in robotics, we always have the two main issues in robotics, mobile robots development. First is on the navigation aspect, first on the localization aspect. Second is on the navigation aspect. So we talk about localization, the further we are out from the shore, from the coastal areas, the more dependence for us on the satellites, the constellation, for us to know the location of where we are in the ocean, out in the ocean. So this is a bit tricky, and this is where we need a very strong communication network in order to ensure that when we explore the further away from the coast, we always know where we are, and in order for us to ensure that will assist our navigation and to ensure that we can complete our mission successfully. Okay, then we talk about marine biotechnology. So we have been talking about robotic, autonomous system, about smart shipping, about advanced material and manufacturing, and sensors, big data. Then we talk about marine biotechnology. So marine biotechnology, I think all of us knows, is a process involve the marine resources of the world that are studied in biotechnology application. For example, deriving new cancer treatments from marine organisms to localize seaweed farming. So these are some of technologies that up and coming in Malaysia. We see a lot of aquaculture sectors are growing. We talk about there are our colleagues working on tidal wave, wind, tidal wave energy generation, and a number of things. So, and Malaysia as one of the countries in the Coral Triangle Initiative, we put a lot of emphasis on our marine parks, for example, because these are our ocean resources. Then we talk about deep ocean mining. For deep ocean mining, for Malaysian country like Malaysia, I think we don't have much area for deep ocean mining. Deep ocean meaning minerals such as elements such as nickel, cobalt, zinc, copper, etc. This is where I think countries like China, like Japan, like India are investing a lot of new resources in order to exploit this area of resources, which is to harvest these metals and these elements. I think for Malaysia there are a number of minerals that we have in our, for example, in the South China Sea, for example. But I think we have yet to really explore properly in terms of to utilize the resources. And one more thing is on the sustainable energy generation. So you can see here, up until this point, there are so many areas of research. There are so many opportunities for research for the oceans, and there are so many needs for new marine technology to be developed in order to ensure that we can do, or we can really support the agenda in exploiting or exploring or managing our ocean resources properly. So I just want to jump into the issues. So when we do research for marine, developing new technology for the marine sector, the one among this is not going to according to priority, but this is among the issues and challenges are human resource, is to develop researchers and the expertise appropriate that they know. For example, you need to develop a robot, ROV, for example, or AUV, underwater vehicle. You need a mechanical and a person who are well versed with mechanical design, with electrical electronics. They know about material. They know about the ocean environment. They know about the pressure, how to manage the pressure environment. So this is an area where you need collaborative efforts between multiple people coming from multiple disciplines. So this is where human managing and ensuring that we have a good group to support the research agenda is important. And from my own experience, very difficult to put. Sometimes we have enough mechanical expertise, we have enough electrical electronics and material, but we don't have strong in terms of expertise for the oceans, for example, because we need to know, we need to have the right researchers with the right background. And then I think among the other issues about funding, I think there are if I can only say about Malaysia, I do not know really about the other countries. But as far as my contact with my colleagues in Singapore, in Indonesia, Thailand, it's very difficult to get proper funding in order to develop new technologies for the marine application. What you have is that you got funding, but the funding is very specific to solve a sub problem in a bigger issue. So it's very difficult to get research funding. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, if I give example like components, any components, for example, sensors or propellers or motors, underwater propellers, underwater propulsion, for example, are very expensive. So unless even to develop them on your own, it's also very expensive. It's not cheap. So that's why funding is very critical. That's why if we intend to develop a very advanced, for example, in my field, we develop underwater robots. If you want to develop a very advanced and workable system, it's going to cost us. We need to really get sufficient funding. If not, it won't be able to complete the projects. And then in terms of facilities, I think this is if I take example of Toteng, for example, in Malaysia, for example, we have only one or two. I know of one in GTM where we have a large enough Toteng to test some facilities. But other than that, it's going to be the nearest will be in I think in Surabaya, for example. We have one of the largest Toteng in the region. Then of course in China, but the access to testing facilities are very challenging. So if I can only give example from developing AUV, ROV to test to test your ROV and AUV, you're going to have a number of difficulties in terms of getting access, in terms of the fabrication facilities, testing facilities. And also, in terms of facilities, is when you want to test for the actual field test. So this is where we're going to, a lot of researchers are going to have a lot of issues. For example, some universities, the big universities like in China or in the States, they have research vessels where they can use a research vessel to test their system out in the ocean. But for us, I know UMT have a research vessel. Congratulations to UMT, you have a research vessel, but most of many of the research groups around the country, for example in Malaysia, do not find it very difficult to have access to the testing facilities to test your system out in the ocean. And even if you have access, it's very limited in terms. And as you know, when you do research, you need enough time, you need enough support in order to complete the testing, for example. So these are. Then you talk about technology acceptance and adoption. If I can just go for TRLs. For TRL, I realize that most of us, when we do research in university, at most we go to TRL4, TRL4 or TRL5. So this is at most we can go. Because when we talk about TRL6, 7 until 9, we talk about a real close collaboration with the industry. So this is where we end up doing a lot of research in our lab, but find it very difficult to take it forward towards commercialize towards to the industry because of the constraint, because of the limitation in terms of, as I mentioned much earlier. So we talk about TRL, we talk about marine technology development, either developing new robot, underwater robot, developing new ship, developing, I don't know, new rigs, new ocean structure. It's very difficult to jump to from 6 to 7, for example, even to the other 6 because of for so many constraints. And these are the challenges that we need to try to solve in order to move forward. To address all the areas of topics I've mentioned much earlier just before this. So you talk about, and then you talk about technology acceptance and adoption, because industries, you have to overcome the doubt, the insistence of the industry to ensure that whether the new technology will be as reliable as the OTS or off-the-shelf technology. So this is always a challenge that we need to be solved in order to ensure that we can jump forward to transfer the technology to the industry. So as far as my own experience, this has always been one of the big challenges, because the industry are always comparing the technology that we have developed to the technology that they can acquire and they can buy off from the off-the-shelf, the OTS, the off-the-shelf technology solutions. So I think this is it. And then, of course, you talk about industry standard. You have the oil and gas industry standards, the naval application, the commercial. So these standards need to be adopted much earlier in our research efforts in order not to face the situation where we have to do reverse engineering. That means you have to redo all the design. That means in terms of design steps, design approach, the industry standards need to be considered early on. Okay. So if I can just go back to these slides. So you can see here in terms of, can you see the slides on the TRL, the professor?
Yes, can see.
Okay, so this is I think for us, for researchers like us that who is becoming, we are the enablers. We have the marine resources, we have the marine scientists, marine biologists, and we are the technologists. When you talk about technologists, we are the enablers. So the enablers always start, I think always start between at the TRL 5 to TRL 6. Because in order to go to TRL 6, you need to go for field testing. Really go for field testing or the actual test on site for the specific application. And this is always, there's a lot of things that need to be done. And most of us, like myself and almost maybe nearly all of us today, coming from academia, when we got grants, normally our grants will be, we can always fulfill. We can already fulfill the objective of the grants when we reach technology 5, TRL 5. So, and you can see the grants, the government grants, the seeds round normally for compensation fund. That's why most of us will, as shown here, will stop at TRL 1, TRL 3, or TRL 4. That's why when we talk about contributing to the future technology for the marine industry, it's going to be, I would say, very challenging because until we seriously solve the problem of assisting the adoption of the technology. So you can see here that for TRL 6, for example, onwards, where you have to go for field testing, this is where you have to have, for example, access to the partner with a ship where they can assist you to take you to the test site. I'll give you an example. If I want to develop an ROV that can go down to 650 meter or 600 meter, or let's say just for the sake of discussion, I want to design ROV can go down to 1,000 meter. I have a number of issues. First, I have to have the access to the high pressure testing facilities online in order to measure, to do the hydrostatic pressure test, for example, which is big enough. And in Malaysia, I don't think we have that kind. And in the region, I don't think we have that kind of testing facilities big enough to really test for example, our enclosure. What we can do is that design, theoretically we can design during simulation, etc. But when we fabricate it, we're going to have a bit of difficulty if you want to design a 1,000 meter ROV that can go down to 1,000 meter of water depth with about 100 meter, that means 100 bar of pressure, which is a very high pressure environment. And then we're going to have issues in terms of where do we test it? If you want to test it down to 1,000 meter of water, where do you test your ROV, for example? So this is just one to straightforward issues in terms of testing and validating the design. So that's why when you look at the TRL levels, you realize where is the point where you cannot go forward unless there are changes in terms of support, unless there are changes in terms of seriousness, in terms of coming from the academia and from the industry and the government in order to ensure that things will really work out. Okay. So, and from this picture, you can see that there are so many, depending on the water column, there are so many issues that can arise when you talk about developing technologies. And I can see, I show here, I mentioned much earlier in terms of the issues of facilities, access to facilities. And this is an issue. I believe that there are many researchers in the country, for example, that can develop good, take for example, ROV. They can develop a good ROV, the control aspect, the navigation aspect, but it's going to be challenging in order to test the validity or the reliability of the system which have been developed because of the access facilities. So if I can, if I can just go back here to the issues and challenges, I think again, first, human resource, the right expertise. The critically is the funding. I think the funding are critical unless your project have been supported by large firms or large industries. Probably it can be done, but I do not see honestly how industry will support a real novel technology for the future unless they can see direct benefits of it. The third is in terms of facilities. From the design stage, fabrication and testing. I think design is okay, but fabrication and testing facilities, access to fabrication and testing facilities is a real issue to many researchers who are doing marine technology development, R&D work. And then, of course, again, I repeat, in terms of how do researchers in academia, for example, deal in terms of the technology acceptance and adoption by the industry. So this is, it cannot be a technology push to the industry. The more logical framework is technology pull from industry. That means the industry want the technology, then we can provide. If you want to do technology push to industry from the academia, I think it's going to be very, very difficult from our part. And then, of course, all these issues, all these challenges need to be addressed in order for us to ensure that we are able to contribute in developing at least some aspect of the technology, new technology forecast, which have been mentioned much earlier in my presentation, so that we become part of the parties that help to achieve the SDGs, which will bring benefits to all of us. So I think with that points, I think I will end my presentation, my sharing on the issues. And for the future, I think in terms of if nothing is done in terms of the items I've said, nothing serious are done in terms to address the issues being raised, I think we're going to be stuck in terms of we're going to be stuck in terms of being unable to utilize or to develop new technology, though we may have good ideas of how to move forward, but it is very difficult to ensure that it can be realized and used by the potential stakeholders. So this is with regards to the ocean space exploration. We have no options. I think the future is the oceans in terms of new sources, in terms of new for food sources, energy, even drinking water. We are looking at the oceans, and then we talk about the future marine world. Surely will be a connected digital one. The integration of people, software, and hardware will basically transform the way we operate and interact. So I believe in terms of for the shipping industry, for the defense, security industry sectors, for the ocean space sectors, in terms of the marine bioresources, exploitation, new technologies are needed. So we as a technology developer have a big role to play. So I think at this note, I will end my presentation. and I hope that maybe there are some sharing which of benefits to the audience who's listening. So thank you very much, Dr. Faisal.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. Rizal, for a very eye-opening talk. So I've learned a big deal of knowledge from this particular session. I can open for one or two questions because the time is jealous with us. So, right. Um, if you have any questions for the participants, you can put the questions in the chat box so I can read it to Professor Rizal. And I have myself a question, Prof. Rizal. You mentioned about the next round of technologies that we as marine technologists should go and invest our efforts, right? And this is very interesting to talk about hybrid propulsion. Now we are looking at the European Commission that they are going into electrical propulsion towards 2030 and 2050, where the aim is to reduce the carbonization up to 90% by 2050. Do you have any comments or response on this particular region in the Southeast Asia? Is there any that type of effort, for example, in Taiwan, in Japan, in Malaysia, in Singapore, that heads the marine technology towards this particular direction? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. I think if you read the new magazine like I have in my hand, for example, the marine professionals. You cannot see it, but the marine professionals, sea technology, all the technical write-up of the future of marine industry. Almost all of them are talking about the utilization of electric based propulsion method. First, electric based in order to reduce the dependency on fossil fuel, right? Diesel engine, etc. In order for the propellers, but to migrate to hybrid. But always, and also to make it hybrid, that means utilizing wind energy plus electric propulsion. But it's always the issue like electric vehicle issue, car, for example, issue of the efficiency of the battery, efficiency of the lifetime of the battery, how you handle, and when you talk about a tanker, for example, if you want to do, you want to use electric propulsion, how do you, for example, what kind of electric power consumption you're talking about? How long? How can you re-energize, for example? Is it wind plus solar plus battery storage? What's the efficiency issue? So these are real things, and I think many groups are working on that. But it's not. I don't think it's the issue of the technology is not there, but how to optimize the technology for specific applications. Because of course, if you're using a small boats and convert it to become an autonomous surface vessel, such as small boat, of course you can use electric propulsion, electric motors, you use solar to energize it, but the power consumption are not intensive. The intensity of the power usage are lower compared when you are using an electric propulsion method for a tanker, for example, which I don't think is available out there. To apply the high seas, for example, so the intensity are higher, etc., etc. So it's not that the technology is not there, but I think the goes towards that direction is still bugged or is still being challenged by the same problem like the EV electric vehicle that we are seeing online. I think this is my theory.
All right, thank you so much for Rizal for the response. So we see that there are possibilities. Yeah, so we are heading towards the end of this morning session. I would like to thank Prof. Rizal for the eye-opening keynote speech. Developing new technologies for marine applications is indeed challenging, and we foresee this challenge comes with the opportunities for further scientific research and development. With that, I conclude the session today, and may we give a round of applause to Prof. Rizal. Thank you so much, Prof. Rizal. There is a housekeeping announcement to the rest of the participants. For your attendance of the next presentations in the parallel sessions, please refer to your guidebook, your program book, for the link of your respective next session, as this link is only for the opening and also the first two keynote session. So looking forward to see you in the next parallel session. Goodbye and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.